Hey there, commercial construction coffee talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Corson. I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction and Renovation magazine. I got a little halo on there, but this is what it used to look like. March 2021. This was a really good looking issue. It was 152 pages, and let's see what I was doing back there in March of 2021. Oh, I was doing some Habitat for Humanity for University of Denver. We are the alumni chapter locally in the Peachtree. I think we were cleaning up a garden where people do stuff downtown Atlanta, and man, was it hot! I was sweating like a dog there, in the dog days of summer. But that's what I was doing back there on March 21. And always nice to hold the magazine in my hands. But we went last issue I printed was August of 2021, and haven't looked back since. And for all you out there consuming our content on our site. We appreciate it. You're all gold in my eyes. And it's been an amazing ride over the last 6 to 8 months with our SEO. Last month, we had just under 7 million people hit the site and consuming content, and it's just been amazing. Maybe before the end of the year, I'll go over 10 million for the month. I don't know. We'll see. But it's been an amazing ride. So thank you to all of you out there finding us on the web and, hitting the site for your informational needs. Sizzling hot today. I thought we were going to get hit by some of the storm that's coming up through Florida and South Georgia, but it went a little southeast, and Charleston and Hilton Head are just getting flooded, and it's going up the coast. And it's been raining here for the last couple of weeks, and I have my construction project. My grader was starting on Monday, so I was hoping that the storm would go a little southeast of us, and I could get some stuff done. And it was great. And actually, after this is over, I'm going up to my lot to go look at some more grading and dirt getting padded on our empty nester build up on Lake Lanier. So uh, with that said, hope everybody's having a great week. And today I have a nice gentleman down in Fort Lauderdale in South Florida. His name is Eric Helitzer, excuse me, and he's the CEO and founder of SubBase. And they basically are material procurement and help the construction site move efficiently and effectively. So, Eric, say hello to our audience out there on Commercial Construction Coffee Talk.
Hey everyone, thanks David for having me as well.
And I got your name pronounced correctly, right? I didn't butcher it, did
You
I?
no, you got it. That
All
that
right,
was
cool.
great.
It's one of those, they look
The tongue
easy
twister.
and they come out, blah, 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 so
Yeah.
what's, you guys missed it in South Florida. The storm went by you, right?
We missed it. Typically they come a little bit closer to South Florida. That's what we're used to, especially going up. I'm a native of South Florida, but yeah, we missed it. But this is early in the season. We won't start seeing our good really hurricanes until in next month or so. We'll see a lot more
Oh
action.
yeah, oh yeah. Look, we even here in Atlanta, if the storms come through, we get the wind and the rain, and I've gone through plenty of them. And sometimes my in-laws, if they come up the coast, they're in Hilton Head, they'll come over to get out, and no need to sit in your house without electric and so forth. So it's crazy. I was looking at some video last night of I think Fort Myers got wet and Tampa flooded and then it went across, and now it's going up the eastern seaboard and a lot of wind and rain. But I was talking to someone else that was down in South Florida. He goes, "Yeah, we didn't see anything. It was like
Yeah.
just a typical day in South Florida in the dog days of summer, right?"
Very minimal. I mean, we saw maybe a little bit of rain on Saturday, and this weekend was actually not too bad. But yeah, we dodged a lot of wet activity.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I live up in the lake, so we will take the rain, but the lake's a full pull, so I don't know what to do. I was going over the dam and full pull's 1073, and I think it was at 1071 and change. And for, the second week going into August, that's unheard of. But over the like June in the middle of July, it didn't rain for weeks, a good 4 or 5 weeks. And then the last couple weeks, just rain. Thunderstorms, rain, a little sun, and it's been endless. And my grader every day, I'm like, Red, are you gonna be up on the lot? No, they're not letting dirt ride. Oh, the dirt's wet. And now we're going. I'm like, please don't have Debbie. That was Storm Debbie, right? Right? Is
Yeah,
that
Debbie.
Debbie? Don't come here. Go south. Go southeast. And listen, anybody that was in that storm's path. Look, there was a lot of wind and rain, and our thoughts are with you out there. So hopefully things will dry out and you can get back to normal. But thanks Debbie for not coming up here because we don't need any more water and we don't have any place to put it. The lake is full. So.
Yeah.
So Eric, the way we're going to work this is we're going to do it in three parts. You're going to tell us your story, basically your resume, where you grew up, where you went to school, and how you ended up where you are today. Then you'll talk about lessons learned from the last 3 or 4 years of the roller coaster that we've all been on, and any new exciting services at SubBase that you're coming down the pike. And then you'll leave one positive thought or phrase and your contact info, and then we'll close it out. So with that said, the floor is yours. Tell us your story.
Awesome. Yeah, great. So my story actually begins when I was in high school. So I was first interning with my father's company. And how I first got into construction was I came from a third generation builder. So my grandfather was a builder in upstate New York. My father was building in South Florida for over 40 years with the same group of partners that he was with. And in high school, I started to intern, and I really started to learn the trade of doing whatever it took to, not just make a few bucks, but to really learn the trade of construction because I was very interested in building. When I graduated high school, I was a big Gator, University of Florida. I was following the Gators since my freshman year of high school, and I really wanted to go to the school. And I didn't know until my senior year that the school, University of Florida, had a specific school dedicated to construction management called the Rinker School of Construction Management, where you actually had to apply. Once you got into University of Florida, you had to apply to then get into the school.
Mm-hmm.
I spent 5 years at the University of Florida Rinker School, 4 years getting my undergraduate degree, and then stayed a second year or a final year, my fifth year, getting a master's in sustainable construction. And at that time, this is 2011, this is when the downturn of the condo boom was occurring. It was actually very difficult in the industry to obtain jobs because a lot of people were getting laid off. But there was a young group of talented individuals from the University of Florida that started to become hired into the South Florida market. And my family business, they were doing well, but they told me that I was not allowed to go work for them until I first started out in the trades. They wanted me to really get dirty and really understand how to build. And so I first went into the subcontractor world right out of school. I worked for a company called Baker Concrete Construction. At the time, they were the #1 and the largest concrete shell contractor on commercial in the nation. They have since, quadrupled their size and are still the #1 company as far as volume. And that's where I really learned the pre-construction elements, aspects of operations, and really how to build very large high-rise structures. Spent 8 years there. And then in 2014, 8 years, including internships in the summer where I was working out of college for them. And then in 2014, the family business came around and said, listen, we're ready for you. We've got this new program called Procore that we want to implement on new jobs because we need to standardize our operations. We're sick of the paper. We're sick of the back and forth between the architect, the owner, and what we need in the field. And we want to test this program out, but we want someone who is youngish, a little bit more tech savvy, that's used maybe a program before to really dive deep and dirty and really understand, is this going to work for us? So they had some new jobs. I left the subcontractor world, went to the GC world, and that's where I first started to really see what was digitizing a very manual process and a very manual workflow, and how technology could help grow a company and streamline the business. And so from 2014 until 2021, I was heavy in operations. I was running a lot of the technology that the company was looking at. And people in the industry, specifically in South Florida, started to see that you can start, implementing technology in a way that was going to help you be more efficient. It limited the amount of overhead you needed to run certain aspects of the job and really drive bottom line efficiency because of the steps that were reduced in some of the very archaic workflows, such as transmitting submittals through paper workflows, requests for information going back and forth, not having visibility, tracking what's open, what's not open. And so that's where I got into the technology space, went in 2021 and realized that there was a very, very large gap missing for the subcontractors and the material suppliers when it came to the day-to-day workflows of managing their materials. It's a very archaic process today, but also a very complex one that involves almost 6 different stakeholders. And so while I was at the company, we were building software to help our subs in the field manage this workflow. people started seeing the benefits of it, and I had to make a decision, to separate so that I can focus on what I was very passionate about, which was building, but building for technology and building for subcontractors that lacked the tools needed to grow and to be successful in their business from the material procurement side. So in 2022, that's where we started SubBase, and SubBase is now nationwide. We are a software platform that doesn't change the way that you order materials, but enhances every aspect of how you're doing it between the field, office, and vendors, and really focus on big, and not say big, I would say commercial subcontractors that are ordering a lot of materials every day. And so that's kind of my story of how I got in from really my younger days, and then now where my career is taking me today.
You know, my my family's been in construction since 1888. It's like fifth or sixth generation, and my
Wow.
grandfather was a combat engineer in World War II underneath Patton, rebuilding all the bridges that the
Mm.
Allies had bombed. And I grew up in Phil outside of Philly, and when we got your driver's license, all the grandsons had to go out and work in the scrapyard. And so I was always down there playing on the cranes when I was growing up and all that. But I totally get the ritual of, listen, if you want to come into the company, you have to go out and prove yourself someplace else before you come back in here. My son would always, when my son was growing up, he's like, "Hey, Dad, maybe I can take over the magazine." And I said, "Listen, you got to go out and do your thing and get fired or do whatever you're going to do before you come and work for me, because first of all, you're going to call me names, and it's just one of
Yeah,
those things. Am I right?"
you're 100% right. I was actually, when we first started in the business, I was on a job in Miami, and the first task, and I'll never forget that I was handed, was here's a magnetic tool, and before any pour, you're going to go in, because I was small, still am small at the time as far as my size, and I was able to fit in between the rebar cages to actually, pick up the debris. And it was something that we did for the entire summer.
Yeah.
And what it showed was the respect that I had for the people that were working there. It actually gave me a sense of learning how it is to work on a deck, seeing all the different variables of the different trades working together. And honestly, at the end of the day, I did whatever it took to not just make money, but to also learn and respect those that are actually, to this day, still in the field working and really building these trades and building these buildings. So I got a firsthand experience for years on how that worked.
Yeah, my uncle Frank Schuler, may he rest in peace. He was my first super, and he was one mean SOB. If you were second late after 6 o'clock in the morning, we were supposed to be there. You were just
Yeah,
dead. And but I learned a lot from him, and uh, it's just, and everything that I learned over the years, my father was in upholstery manufacturing. My stepdad was in retail jewelry, and then my mother's side, they've been in construction, and my cousins right now, they're my age, they're running the company. And
hmm,
but all of those things that I took as I developed my publishing company after I left Nielsen in 2001, I've taken all those, even though that, believe it or not, I'm a constructor. I used to do it with ink and paper,
yeah,
just like two by fours and all that, but now I do it digitally, but I'm still building, and every month I go, "Hey, I built that." It and just like after here, I'm going to go up. I'm getting my grading done, and then the concrete guy's coming in. He's going to build a box. The electrician, the plumbers, they can put the sheathing in the pipes. Then he's going to, my first inspection are on the footings and the rebar to make sure they're the right width, and et cetera. And then I'll pour in my font. So I'm going through all that as we speak, on the empty nester house that we're building. And it's funny that you said concrete, because I'm like, oh, I mean, I got
yeah,
concrete in my mind here, just talking to the sub. But the biggest thing is that there are still contractors out there that don't have a smartphone, or they don't use software to their advantages. And with with AI coming into play, and just all these different, technologies, everything's at warp speed. If you don't embrace technology today, you're going to be left behind. And I mean, there's probably still people out there using slide rules. I don't know if you know
yeah.
what, or do you know what
I
slide?
do, I
Okay,
do. My
not
my
many people
father had
do.
them. Yeah,
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 exactly.
yeah.
So, those kind of people. And listen, I was talking to a guy yesterday. He's been in business 54 years and was on the retail side. And now he's kind of in fixture installation and that kind of stuff. Anyway, he's never had a website in all of and very, very
Hmm,
successful. But I
yeah,
told him, I said, look, you need to have, even though you're thinking about retiring, you need to have a presence, because you don't have a presence on the web. There's 8 billion people on the planet. You don't know where your next sale is going to come from. It's 24/7, 365. You've got to have a presence on there. You've done great for 54 years, but I'm going to tell you, you need just a simple landing page with a funnel where you can collect that data and have conversations offline. So um, uh, it's amazing how many different technologies that I've had on my show over the last year of just, people that have been entrepreneurs. They've been in business for a couple of years, just like yourself. You saw the void, and then you saw, Epiphany probably went on a light and said, hey, this is where I want to go. And now look what it's turned into. You're nationwide, you're helping subs. And the biggest thing is on a construction site is you want to make sure those materials, it's almost like just-in-time manufacturing. You want those materials to show up so they don't have to sit there for days at a time and taking up space when other contractors have to get in. And you just want to make it like almost like a symphony. Everybody's playing a different instrument, but if they all play when they're supposed to, it sounds awesome. Am I right on that as well?
Yeah, 100%. It's a great metaphor. It's actually one that I was used to growing up. Actually is that exact metaphor. Was you're as a GC, you're the conductor of the orchestra. You've got 30 different people potentially playing 30 different instruments, and you are responsible for making sure that those instruments are on time, they're on cue, and that the music sounds great. So that's a perfect metaphor. So with construction material specifically, the big problem is that most trades are procuring in a similar format as far as a workflow. But the problem is there's a lot of people that touch a single order, no matter the size, right? You've got the field that needs requested material items. You've got the office potentially, depending on how big you are, with purchasing managers or project managers, making sure that the right items are being allocated from the right budget. You've got vendors on the other side, internally and externally, external sales guys that are selling to and moving the data to internal sales guys. And then you have, the field foremen that are accepting deliveries in the field, and then that material invoice from the vendor moving back into an accounting system with an accounting professional. All of these different, let's call it people in that orchestra, right, have to be on the same, source of truth. And that is what we built, was the source of truth, but one that doesn't change the way that you've been doing it for 30 years. Because the one thing that contractors don't like, big and small, is change.
Sure.
And it's part of the reason why technology has been hard to adopt, is because of that. And so we understood very early on how it works and how it's supposed to work. How do we eliminate the tasks that just are really cumbersome? The entry of accounting or manual entry that's happening very frequently. And how do you give someone a better experience to help them not just drive more business, but really of the business they're currently doing, be a lot more profitable? And that's where we saw a big opening opportunity in that sector, which is the material space.
Yeah, you talk about sustainability. Like I said, my family's been in demolition recycling since 1888. We were in the recycling and being sustainable before sustainable was even a word. And now it's a household world every day.
Mm-hmm.
On how you use it. And uh, kudos to you for finding your niche. And listen, I know there's some Gator haters out there. They're probably in the SEC, like I'm here in Bulldog Land in Georgia. But I'm a Yankee living in the South.
Yeah,
I'm just in
or
SEC.
the Gator haters are there, or they're in the ACC, and I'm not going to name the ones that would be hating us in the ACC, but yeah, we're big Gators here.
Yeah. Listen, I get it, but listen, all you Gators that, the people that, like the Gator, listen, he's a Gator, but you know what? He's got a really cool platform. So, he could probably help you, nothing wrong
Yeah,
with, after the game, you shake hands, you have fun, and, remember, it's just a game. So,
sure.
uh, anyway, actually, I was watching last night. I think they had University of Georgia ranked #1, and Oregon or whatever. But it'll be interesting. It's coming. It's almost kickoff time here in the South. All the flags
Yeah,
be back in school. The flags are starting to fly, and
it's the
everybody's getting
best.
ready. Yeah, it's
Most people that didn't grow up down in like well, when I call the southeast of like understanding football, college football, it's I think is the best. I've been to every UF, UGA, Georgia, Florida game since, well, from 2005 until 2011, the world's largest outdoor cocktail party.
oh yeah,
And
Jackson.
We saw some of the highlights and some of the lowlights when, we played Georgia, but those are amazing, unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, listen, SEC's king here, in the South, and everybody else is second fiddle. So I
Sure.
root for everybody. I just want to see close games, as far
Yeah.
as, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
But I went to University of Denver. We didn't have a football team. We had a hockey team, So
Hmm.
that's why I went out there. I was a hockey lacrosse player. So, um,
Awesome.
so as you look back, which you've alluded to earlier, March of 2020, cranes everywhere, business is booming. Everybody, I mean, it was awesome. And then everything goes kaput.
Yeah.
Couple weeks, couple months. Now we're here 3 or 4 years later. We're out of the tunnel. Some speed bumps and potholes, labor shortage, product, whatever, inflation, and here we are today. And there are things going on, and you can't build a hospital in a week, and maybe a pop-up store you can build in a week, but in all likelihoods, things that are mega projects or big projects, they take sometimes years to do. Uh, Talk about, some of the challenges as you weather the storm per se over the last couple of years, that and how your clients, maybe that weren't able to embrace it, saw the light and embraced tech.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, alluding to like what happened in 2020, obviously, I think the industry realized what Zoom was. No one knew like what was Zoom. No one understood that you can have virtual meetings and that virtually you can manage projects. Obviously, you couldn't build in the field as efficiently as far as the sticks and bricks, but the back offices had a really, really big light bulb that came off and said, wow, we're forced to do this because we can't connect in the office. We need to figure out a better way. And coupled with the fact that material prices just went through the roof from one day to another. Lumber, formwork accessories, boxes of nails, like everything had no rhyme or reason. And that's what actually started making people aware that there was a bigger problem. And so what we saw was first the ability to connect everyone, even if you're not in the field or on the job site. How do you connect the accounting teams? How do you connect the field, the office, and vendors on one space so that the streamlined nature of that can happen, even if you're not physically on the job site? And how do you actually track, material costs now? So material costs went from, one day I knew that my, 2x4 lumber, my CDX plywood was going to cost X to, oh my God, it's costing Y to, wow, where's this going to go? It could be double or triple in a couple of months. And that actually brought a lot of awareness to people because they saw budgets go through the roof and they saw overruns for no reason until after they got the bills. And this was what really started our brain thinking of how do we help both sides, right? How do we help the subcontractor get ahead of this? Because most people weren't sending requests for quotes as frequently because they already had known that this was going to cost, $20 a box. Next day they come into the office, they get that invoice, it's actually $40 a box, which is eating into their margins, which ultimately they didn't budget for. And so what we saw back in 2020 was, wow, this is really, really happening where people don't have control over roughly 35% of their business, which is the material cost of that project for a subcontractor. And so people started to realize that this was a bigger problem. And so we started building for that to solve that problem. And then as we were solving that problem, we saw the bigger problem on the accounting side was all of the materials of the invoices coming in. How do I properly make sure that this was the right invoice paired to the right purchase order at the right time of the purchase? And then let me move that in my accounting system so that I can keep my budgets up to date. And I actually may not be in the office, which means I don't have access to my accounting server because a lot of these older systems are server based. So a lot of them move to the cloud because the cloud offers them connectivity to multiple applications. And so we started to see this trending shift. People now at bigger companies started to add purchasing managers and started to centralize the purchasing because it gave them the visibility they needed that they didn't have before. But it was because of that 2019, 2020 craziness that really allowed for technologies like a SubBase to really pop out and be able to solve these problems that came to light. So those are some of the biggest things. And then the other thing that I would say is helpful is a lot of the younger generation coming into the business wants to use the latest and greatest tools. They want to be able to use technology because they're so used to it in their daily lives But coming into these businesses, because of how outdated some of them were, they started to push for better solutions. And that was kind of coupled with what happened in those years.
I had just bought my microphone in March of 2020, and I was going to do these interviews on the construction site when I was traveling. That
Mm,
was my game plan, and then everything, travel wasn't in the cards, and
sure.
so I just decided to wing it. And I was doing a podcast, I think one of these episodes, one a week, and then
Wow.
as time went on, I kind of tailored it down, and I'll probably do about 8 a month now. But I listen. I was awful in the beginning. I just was. I'm not even that good as it is now. I just have fun. But as I look back, if you don't know what you're doing, it's okay. Go out there and make mistakes and learn it. And
Yeah.
if you're not making mistakes, you're not pushing yourself. You're not working hard enough. Is in my opinion. That's just the athlete in me. And it really was truly amazing as I started doing these episodes, and then over the last 4 years, some people had the best years of their company's,
Yeah.
lifespan, and that they found out that they could trust their employees if they were working remote. There wasn't any more of the gabber by the water cooler. They could trust their employees to get up, and the only thing that really was a hindrance was, hey, I would have done more jobs, but I didn't have project managers or superintendents out there. They were hard to find. They were like needles in a haystack, or else I would have bought, bit off more of the apple for more jobs. And as a contractor, the worst thing you want to do is, take the job and not be able to deliver.
Yeah.
And so many people, contractors, engineers, architects, end users, they all had phenomenal, but the people that did that were the ones that were either set up, like we had a digital magazine. I had it for years. I didn't
Hmm.
even realize how much content I had until I actually looked at it. It was just there as a, hey, if you're on the plane, you don't have the magazine in front of you, you can grab it off the cloud or on the web as long as you had access. And it's amazing when you look back to where it was. And this is Zoom is or Teams or whatever your platform they're using. If you're gonna, you can now pick and choose where you're gonna, get on a plane. Because traveling, let's face it, it's no fun. I mean, I'm a million
Hmm.
miler on Delta. I got my bracelet and all that stuff. I don't care if I get on another plane. But but instead of driving an hour and a half uh, to go to a project to look at a little punch, you can do it on Zoom or do it on FaceTime.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the amazing thing about technology. So you can make the best use of your time because you can't get time back. And there's no reason to look back because the scoreboard's not going to change. And it really is, I look at like the last 4 or 5 years, it's been technology driven. And now with AI coming into prominence, the toothpaste is out of the tube. You're never going to be able to put it back. Uh, it's how it's going to get harnessed, and how much range that you're going to put on it. So it does get good. But for
Yeah.
construction, like if you're doing, like you mentioned, high rise, if you have men putting in HVAC ducts, sometimes they might not be as straight. They're not going to be, but you put an AI robot in there, boom, 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 boom. It's all going to be consistent. And
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Look, so we're very heavy artificial intelligence. But there's a way to present it into these workflows, and there's a way to present it to people in construction. And so the way we presented it was slowly layering on, knowing that there are some things in material procurement that actually it just sucks. Like you don't want to change the way that a field foreman or someone or a super or an assistant project manager is requesting an item. If they're calling it a half-inch copper tube, let them call it a half-inch copper tube. When that order goes out to a vendor, right? The vendor doesn't call it quarter-inch copper tube. The vendor may use that as a description, and then they have SKU numbers. They have all these different parts and pieces tied to it. And so, how do you get artificial intelligence to recognize that what they want in the field is actually what you, Mr. Vendor, are selling it, so that when that invoice comes in, people are speaking the same language without changing the way you've always done it? And how do you reduce the manual efforts involved? That's where artificial intelligence that we've built inside of the platform is helping extremely well, is letting that really take place versus going to companies and saying, hey, you're going to use SubBase and don't worry about your purchasing. We're going to handle everything, because it's still very relationship based, and the industry always will be. So that's how we see artificial intelligence today, and kind of in the future, it'll get better, but it's not going to replace a lot of the human elements of what construction is.
Yeah, listen, I write my column. I still take it right out of my mind. I don't use AI, but I do use it. I use it every day.
Yeah.
And it's a tool. It's just like a tool, a hammer.
Exactly.
It's a tool, and it depends on how you, and I can spot AI, a mile away when I see content. I've got all these guys throwing me content, and I can spot it. It's just the way it is. But I'm a content creator, so I'm basically a prompt programmer AI. My wife laughs at me because when I go in there, I'll be like, "Oh, how are you doing today? You're the best." Blah 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 blah. She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm talking to my assistant."
Yeah,
It's just that
listen.
She's like, it's a machine. I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm prompting it that way. When I
Yeah,
ask for something, it's gonna know what I'm gonna do. So you got to teach it how you operate, and it's your right hand person as far as I'm concerned.
it's
It's virtual, right?
it's very powerful. It is definitely something that is not going away. And the way that we see it interacting in construction is happening a lot, but we see a very promising future for the workflow aspects of how to really increase efficiency and really remove a lot of the manual work that's involved in a lot of the workflows in construction.
So if you're out there in commercial construction coffee talk and you're having issues on your site, or maybe you're not as technologically advanced as you should be, and you want to get a hold of your procurement and your materials that you're using on the site, if someone wanted to reach out to you and bounce some questions off you, how would they reach out to you?
Yeah. So we're very heavy on LinkedIn. They can search for me, us or myself on LinkedIn. Eric Helitzer. SubBase is our company name. Um, my email is Eric, very simple, at SubBase, SUBBASE.io. But really, the two, go to our website, subbase.io. You can reach us there. LinkedIn, we're super responsive. Our team is constantly monitoring every aspect from our current active people that we work with, but also from new customers that would be interested. And yeah, conversations, we love it. We love talking about understanding the business and how it's done today and seeing if it's a good fit ultimately. But that's how they can reach us.
So there you go, subbase.io, and Eric with a C, Helitzer on LinkedIn. And listen, if you're thinking about getting more automated, and listen, it's like anything else, you have to learn it. But once you get through that learning or knowledge period, technology can help you. It's just an amazing, like I was a print face-to-face guy. I don't miss the printer. I don't miss the post office. It was scary when we, stopped printing the magazine. Are people going to be there? But now it was probably the best decisions that I ever made, and scary, but still, I dove in and trusted myself. And the day you stop learning is the day you should go do something else, as far as I'm concerned. So, reach out to Eric and see if his team can help you, because maintaining that procurement and having that dialogue, whether you're remote or on the site or in your office, these technology platforms, depending on which one you use and how you use it, and just like anything else, you can purchase it, but if you don't learn how to use it, it's just like buying construction equipment. If you don't learn how to drive the excavator or the Bobcat, you're not going to get good at it. So you might as well just go figure it out, make some mistakes, and learn from them. So give Eric a call and see if he can help you out. And listen, if anyone wants to reach me, I'm at davidc@ccr-mag.com. Eric got on here because his publicist reached out, sent me a press release. I'm into this technology, anything that's technological that can, make things more fluid and enhance your building experience. I'm all about, and that's how we got on here. But I look at everything. So if you're, looking, it's very tough to get in the magazine, but send it to me. It could be your anniversary for your company. It could be a new product release. It could be a case study. It could be a charity golf tournament that you're doing. We look at all that stuff. Uh, we post every day. And, when we post, we say in the URL, we want you to share it. It's good for your SEO, which is your search engine optimization. That's the way Google finds you. And it's a win-win. So don't judge a book by its cover. And I always tell people, it's like the lottery. If you don't buy a ticket, you can't win. If you don't send me something, I can't look at it. And believe me, like I said, it's tough getting the magazine, but we have all these other social media channels and platforms. We put everything up there. So let us judge the press release and or the info that you're sending us, and we'll find a home for it. So, with that, Erica, one last, as we close up this episode, if you wanted to leave our listeners out there in commercial construction coffee talk with one positive thought or phrase as we're in the second month of Q3 and finishing up and going to Q4 and then the end of the year and the holidays, what would it be?
Yeah, I would say to everyone out there who is in construction, right, and looking at the rest of the year is to think about I guess the opportunity cost, right, of digitizing some aspect of your business. Doesn't just have to be materials, it could be any aspect. And I challenge those that are not thinking about the way they can improve on that aspect, because a lot in the industry are looking at software as an expense, but not thinking about the ROI or the investment of longer term. And so I challenge people to really think about what is the cost today of your business. You may not know, we could share that info with you, of what is it taking to manually do a lot of the tasks that today are potentially holding your business back from growing exponentially higher or being more efficient. That's something that we always like to chat about with our prospects and our users. So that would be something that I'd love to leave here.
That's awesome. Listen, I took digital classes over the last 18 months and got Google and Microsoft certified and launched my digital agency. And I thought I knew a lot. I didn't. And you just have to kind of, make your way through it. And the biggest thing is you got to think big. These days, if you're not thinking big, and I've been on this running kick all year. I'm do about 5 or 6 miles a day, and I do a little wind down and I leave just talk about my day and then a little thought. And my thought the other day was, a winner is just a dreamer who didn't give up,
Hmm.
and dream big and don't be scared of technology. It's your friend. I know it could be the big gorilla in the room, but I swear it can be very, very tame once you and you're gonna love having that gorilla behind you,
Yeah.
or with you. So, it's your friend. You just have to take action and be fearless and you know, uh, get on that saddle and go for it. So awesome opportunity. That was awesome. So a couple things before we finish up. Number one, if you're out there on the construction site, we want you to be safe. We want you to get home, be able to have dinner with your kids, your spouse, your partner, whatever, and be able to get some REM sleep and be able to do it again the following day. Number two, it's still hot. Okay, it's the dog days of summer. You got to stay hydrated. When you get dehydrated, you get headaches. When you get headaches, you make mistakes or you get hurt. And that's just the athlete in me. So you want to make sure that you're liquefying yourself. Make sure you're drinking plenty of water. And listen, if you have any electrolytes, put that powder in those bottles. And number one, you're going to feel better. Number two, you're going to sleep better, and you'll be able to get up the following day and do it that much better because you're that much better than you were yesterday. So, and you should always be improving. And lastly, hit the like button. So the algorithms out there are, on the web will find this episode and you can find out about SubBase. And we want everybody to see this episode. So with that said, Eric, pleasure meeting you. If I get down to South Florida, I look forward to seeing you. Maybe I could come out and see one of your projects in action. And
Love that.
cool.
Yeah, we got a lot to show you if you come out here. You have my contact. David, thank you again for having me on. This is great.
Yeah, absolutely. So Eric, say goodbye from South Florida.
All right. Goodbye. This is Eric with SubBase from South Florida. See you later.
All right, and I'm going to sign off here from Sugar Hill, just below the Beaufort Dam on Lake Lanier, about 30 miles north of downtown ATL. And listen, everybody have a great rest of the week. Stay cool out there because it's sizzling hot. And before you know it, Labor Day is going to be here and the last 3 months of Q4. And we're going to close out, I can't believe it's already August. It's amazing. I just thought it was January 1st and boom, here we are, we're going to close the year out in a couple of months. So with that said, everybody out there, we will see you next time on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. Eric, thanks for the conversation. Thoroughly appreciate it. All right.
Thanks, David.
All right. Cheers, everybody. Bye.
Bye.